Hey, it's Michael Larner, Larner Vineyard and Winery out here in the vineyard. Beautiful day. We're in the beginning of May, and we are excited. The vines are growing like vigorously, very beautifully. We're very excited with the growth this year. But if you remember the previous video I made, things were a little bit late, and we talked about not having the sheep. And basically things were kind of cool, and that cooling trend has continued. Luckily the sheep came and they've actually gone by now, and you can see as they've kind of come through and mowed through some of the stuff. But what I find fascinating is that this year feels like we're tracking almost 2 to 3 weeks behind previous vintages. To give you an example, in the past we've done our lovely Flavia Salons barbecue, and that's usually been about Mother's Day, and when we see flowering and this beautiful essence of the flowering of the grapes, and we're not even close. And here we are at the beginning of May, and our fruit is just forming. We're very far away from flowering, so we figure we're tracking about 2 to 3 weeks behind a given vintage. So that doesn't make me too concerned yet, because we still have summer coming, and that could speed things up with the heat. But it does mean that everything is tracking behind. So that makes sense to what I was saying in the previous videos, where things had slowly progressed, and we did get our sheep finally in here. We were able to basically go through and mow out the vineyards, and have the livestock run through there. And things look really good though, otherwise, beyond that. So we're cautiously optimistic. Things are progressing well, although albeit a little bit late. But you know, this is farming, things catch up. We may have a warm summer and things will advance fast. So we'll check back in on that when we get closer to October. But this also means in May right now that as the vines are growing, we're also going through the cellar, and we're going through the barrel selections, getting ready to do a bottling coming up in August. So wines that are settled, that are looking pretty good, we can start thinking about doing the blends. But that's also time for me to go through and kind of look at what we have in inventory and actually find some really cool selections that are library selections that we've actually brought out for this shipment. In particular, a little bit of a focus on Grenache, which we're actually standing in the Grenache Blanc. And this block is one of our favorite blocks. I'm actually standing in Clone 362. We call this Ventoux Ridge. Basically, the wind comes through here, so Ventoux is a very appropriate name for it. But it's also our most highest elevation Grenache block that we have. And we thought it'd be fun in the shipment to do a little bit of vertical for some of those people up in the upper tiers, like Mantle, the Core. You can get into some of the older vintages of Grenache side by side to the younger vintages of Grenache. So for example, like our 2019 Grenache, and also there'll be some 2021 Grenache in there as well. Grenache, I love making Grenache. It's very subtle, velvety, very soft red wine, but at the same time has this beautiful texture of red fruits, and a very velvet core to it. So it's always fun to have that in there. Makes the bulk of our blends, like Elemental and Unconformity, red, but also as standalone as gorgeous wine. And it's super fun to pair foods with that. Lighter foods, like lighter meats like pork, chicken, anything like that. You can still come off the grill and it'll handle a steak just fine. But the idea is to have something that's a little bit lighter. Even pastas, meat-based pasta sauces, these kind of things are super fun with Grenache. The other thing that you might find in your shipment that's kind of fun, and I know I've talked about it in the past, but I always love talking about new wines, and our Unconformity White is not something we do every year. This is our 2023 vintage, and what's unique about this is, again, this is Unconformity are the wines that we do co-fermentations. So this is a co-fermented blend, 50-50, 50% Viognier, 50% Malvasia, co-fermented together. This wine then goes into an acacia barrel, and ages for about 6 months or so prior to bottling. So you allow this wine to sort of get the floral elegance that comes from Malvasia, but at the same time have a little bit more of that structure that you get from Viognier. It's a little more weight. So it has this, to me, the best of both worlds, because you have the fruity floralness as well as that sort of structural intensity that comes from Viognier. So check for those. But as always, if those are not in your shipments, you can always add on to it. Because we are very flexible with all of our shipments here. We love having people try different wines that we make. So never feel like you're stuck with only one selection. If you see something you want to try, or something that maybe piqued your interest from one of our videos, you can always add it to the selection as well, because our selections are merely what we're releasing, but you can also add to it. But otherwise, the vintage looks good. Right now we're still progressing forward on a tasting room. Hopefully in the next video we'll be able to show you more of the construction stuff. So that's still going on. And the vines are growing, so we're just kind of in a nice phase where we kind of let them do their thing now. The next step for these vines will essentially be going through and starting to get them tucked into the wires so they grow in a little more vertical position. Once they start to get close to flowering, we might come through and do a little bit of thinning after that, just to make sure the crop's not too heavy in certain blocks. And hopefully they're going to continue to grow, and we'll start removing some of the leaves in the basal area to get a little bit more airflow and a little more sun exposure throughout the growing season. So as long as Mother Nature plays well with us, we should be in a good position to have a very healthy crop. It looks really solid this year, which is nice because in the previous vintages they've been a little bit lighter. So as long as we don't get any excessively cold weather during flowering, which could cause shatter, then we should be fine. So beyond that, so again, look for fun things like Grenache in your shipment. Our standard elemental, Syrah, Malvasia, all that's going to be there. Rosé, even if you want it, and Unconformity Red. So all those are in the shipment coming in May. But you'll find that you'll have a fun little library selection as well as our Unconformity White in most of your selections. So enjoy, guys.